All right, guys. Welcome to Roofer2Roofer. This is where we're Scott and I are here to answer y'all's questions about roofing business in general. So you got Scott, owner of Rainstoppers Roofing, and then also does a lot of consulting through Small Town Roofer, and then myself from the tech side, CEO of ProLine. I've just seen so many different roofing businesses. I just got back from working one-on-one with a roofing franchise. And so yeah, we both have a lot of knowledge when it comes to the roofing business. We're here to answer your questions. So whatever you guys have, we would love to answer any questions that you have. If you want to put that in the Q&A, there's a little Q&A button at the bottom of Zoom. Otherwise, we'll go through our own questions, and so we'll probably start with a couple of our own, and then if you guys have questions for us, you can jump in and put those in. All right. Cool. Let me grab something here. I feel like last time we didn't really talk about production stuff. I feel like we were talking a lot about marketing.
Mostly, yeah, I
Yeah.
think you're right.
Why don't we focus on some production stuff here? How do you manage the how do you get a client once a client signs the quote for the roof? How do you get them queued up for production? Like, how do you handle that transition from a signed quote to getting production started? What's the process that you guys follow for that?
So it's actually 100% automated. So that process is completely automated and it's perfect in my opinion. But it's one place we've really kind of found success. So basically, what happens is, in our quote, we require in our ProLine quote template. You choose your color selection on shingles or metal or drip edge, whatever. Like everything has to be chose before you sign the quote. So once you sign that quote, and you understand that, like we've explained that in the sales process, we've showed it to you at the kitchen table, it's understood. Um, so once you sign, it's done. Like we at Rain Stoppers, we understand exactly what we're coming to do with what material once you sign, right? We don't have any other questions. But what we do is uh, send a text and an email immediately. Well, it's like 3 minutes after they sign. The text says, "Thank you so much for choosing Rain Stoppers for your project. We really hope to give you a 5-star service. I'm sending you an email right now. Please take the time to read that email to understand how to have a great experience with us." And then the email is this longer formatted message that basically gives them an outline of what's about to take place, what to expect. So, we will give you X amount of time of a heads up before we come. We're going to make a hell of a mess, and it's going to be a mess until we get the roof on, and that's just part of it. Understand? We'll clean it up when it's done. Please, move any sentimental or valuables away from the house that could get damaged. If you don't, we will, but please take it upon yourself to move some of that stuff. Just different things like that. It's the how to have a great roofing experience email. Um, and dude, it's killed all of the problems that we have during production. We used to get called twice a week. The people would show up from work, they worked an early shift or something. They're getting home at 1, 2 o'clock. Like, oh, my yard's a mess. And it's like, yeah, no shit. It's going to be till like 5 probably. So I don't know what to tell you. That's just part of it. We're not going to stop what we're doing to clean up. We'll clean up once we're done. That's the best way to run this process.
Yeah.
Um, Same with even we ask them to do a couple things. Please, mow your grass as short as possible prior to us coming. It makes it easier for the cleanup so we can get all the nails. It just is a great little outline that really our customers appreciate because they're a little more in the know. They're a little more understanding of what's about to take place and what to expect. So yeah, I love it. I think it works great for us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, Now, are you guys still not scheduling a specific date for production? You just tell them it's coming.
Nope, we don't ever schedule a hard date. And they'll ask us to, and we still tell them no. Like we do not hard schedule anything. We give them a time frame to expect us.
A
So
window.
AJ, if you called me, I can't, you sign my contract today. You're going to ask me, when can I expect to do this, or when will you be doing this job? I'm going to tell you, we're going to be about 2 to 3 weeks. If we keep getting cold, miserable weather, just if it's below freezing, understand we're not working anywhere, so nothing's changing. So that 2 to 3 can turn into 5 to 6 real fast, right? But typically, right now, we're going to say 2 to 3 weeks, um, and that's it. There is no hard dates. 2 to 3 weeks. You're in the queue. We work off a queue. We don't work off a schedule.
Yeah. So that makes sense. I really like that approach a lot.
We have one, AJ, here's one we had scheduled back in December, early December, rubber roof job, and we did it yesterday. That job's been scheduled for 2 months. It was next for 2 months.
It's just the weather.
It's just weather. Like, what are you gonna do? I mean, don't get me wrong, this is obviously the worst time of year, but still we get a lot of rain in the summer. Why, or even in the spring and summer we get a lot of rain. Like, why battle that all the time? Like, moving the schedule around. You're in the queue. You're fourth in line. That's usually about 3 days. That's just how we run it, and we're very upfront that you get a 24-hour notice. We're 2 to 3 weeks out. We'll give you a 24-hour notice before we come. That's it. That's what we do. We never have a problem with it either.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. All right. Next question here. So, for everyone just joining us, this is Roofer to Roofer. We're here to answer y'all's questions. So, if you guys have any questions for Scott or I about just the roofing business in general, running a roofing business, optimizing a roofing business, systematizing the roofing business, just let us know. There's a little Q&A button at the bottom of Zoom you can click on and fill out. But we're going through our own questions we got queued up for right now. We kind of just did this. We talked about project timelines. How do you handle permit applications for roof replacements?
Not real well. We're pretty bad at it. To be honest, we just don't get them as often as we should. But regardless, now we Jennifer in the office usually is the one that helps take care of that. So unfortunately, where we're located, there's a lot of these jurisdictions that don't take payment over the phone, which is crazy. Like, you would think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, many of these guys don't. They only take cash or check in person. So that makes it a little bit difficult, and that's why we're a little bit hesitant to go pulling permits real fast, because we're doing business 2.5, 3 hours away in a town that we got to get a check delivered to. It's like, we'll just wait for the fine. We'll pay the fine over the phone.
Yeah. I mean,
um,
how often are you getting the fine though?
well, usually the fines are about double the cost of the permit, so you only have to bat about 50% to break even. So we just play the game, and they know, they get it. They don't give us too much of a hard time about it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, the way we handle them is, as soon as they hit, the one stage, that's one of the tasks that's got to happen, is pull permit if necessary, and usually that's done from within our office. So the sales guys, help with that. If they need to help with that, actually physically show up in person somewhere, but typically Jennifer in the office just takes care of the whole thing.
Makes sense. Yeah, Jennifer says it is indeed a pain. All right. Yeah, so that's actually, so like, that might not be immediately obvious to some contractors. Like, yeah, yeah, if you don't get it, there's a fee if you get caught. But like, how much is that in relation to the permit? Because like you're saying, if it's high, if it's twice as much, then you just gotta bat 50, and then you get to pay it over the phone.
Yep. And usually, like, a lot of the permits that we get are like $50 permits.
Yeah, it's like
Like
$100
it's
instead.
just not worth it. It's not I'm not driving 3 hours to save $50. Like just find me and I'll deal with it later.
Yeah.
Plus I'm like a little bit against the government anyway, so if I can get one over on them, I like getting one over on them. So feels like a win.
True libertarian.
Yeah, I'm not much for paying permits for them to not even get out of their car to do an inspection, So
Yeah.
I've watched it so many times that it's sickening. You pay for these permits and it's like they have inspectors and the inspector never gets out of the car to do a roof inspection. It's like, what did I just pay for? For some lazy person to just drive around and collect a check. That's what I just paid for. So
The racket.
it's a racket. It is a racket. Some states I'm sure are different, but where a lot of the areas we're in, not all, but a lot of the areas we're in, that's how it's operated.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. Next question is, should I do pre-job and post-job inspections?
Absolutely. I mean, it's got to. I don't know how you get away from not doing it. We always um at the point of the phone call, obviously when somebody's reaching out to say that they want us to come do a roof inspection, we do a quality inspection. We take a ton of photo and video documentation. Um, really have a great company cam document built pre-job, and and that's not just of the inspection. That's also of potential damage around the house. So like we're taking photos of the gutters. We're taking photos of the landscaping. We're taking photos of the driveway, of the siding, the screens in the windows. Like those are all things we snap pictures of as we're walking by because we have too many times paid for ripped window screens or busted concrete driveway or we've paid for these things in the past because people say that we are the ones that broke them when we knew good and well we didn't. um, and now we still will get blamed. Hey, your guys cracked this window and ripped the screen, and we pull up a photo from 2 months ago when we did the initial inspection, and sure as shit, that window was cracked with a ripped screen. That wasn't us. Because they're timestamped, so it takes every bit of guesswork out of that. So, and then the post job you have to do that's your quality control. If you're not doing a post job inspection, pretty hard to do any sort of real quality control to make sure that things are being kept up to snuff.
Do you ever have customers you show them that before photo and they still want to try to fight you on it?
We have one that was pretty interesting. It was kind of funny because we had to confront the guy and it felt really awkward because it was like bold faced lie, and you know what I mean, like we didn't want to have
Obvious.
to go this route. But so anyway, what happened was he did have a roof leak. And this is why you document every time you go. Every time. Thank God we did, right? So we completed the job, took completion photos. He had a roof leak. So we went back. Well, we snapped our photos again to document what we were looking at in this, warranty claim. Even the guy had even taken photos of where he had set his ladder up on the house. Like, so we had a really good documentation. Well, then the guy calls like 3 days later and says, "Hey, your guy that came over here and fixed my roof smashed my gutter." I'm like, okay. So I was actually personally down in that area that day. And so I'll just go look at it. I'll just go take a look at it real quick while I'm down there. So I go look at this thing. Dude, it's like crinkled in, like smashed. Well, there's sticks and shit in the gutter. And I'm like, what the hell? So then I look on company cam, right? We had a picture of the ladder on the opposite side of the house. So I called John. I said, "Hey, John, what's going on? This gutter's all smashed up." He's like, "Dude, I wasn't even on that side of the house." I said, "Well, I didn't think so." So I start looking around. Well, the neighbor just had a tree cut down, and there's literally bark and sticks in the gutter. And so I'm looking, and I didn't even recognize it at first, but now I see a tree is cut down 30 feet from where I'm standing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you fucking dipshit. your neighbor's tree fell against your gutter, or it's his. I don't know. It could have been his, but
Yeah.
it was over toward his neighbor's house. And I'm like, so the guy's literally just trying to take advantage of the situation. My guess is his neighbor was going to pay him to get that fixed, and he was just going to blame it on us.
Try to get it for free,
Or
keep the payment or something.
I almost guarantee you that's the situation,
Yeah.
and it's like, luckily we had documentation, we had some evidence to where we were able to squish that and keep that from happening. But yeah,
Yeah. So you generally, if you can show them photo evidence, they'll back down.
they usually shut up. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you need it, and if it's time stamped, it's kind of bulletproof. I mean, this was here prior to us ever being here.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
The problem is with homeowners, and unfortunately, it's sad because a lot of homeowners truly don't mean they're not trying to take advantage. But the problem is as a homeowner, your mindset is, your house, you've been living in it for 15 years, 10 years, 20, whatever. You don't look at your home that close because it's just the same old house that you show up to every day. It's where you use the toilet, where you go to sleep, and where you watch TV, right? It's the same place every day. But when you have someone do something to your house, and it's something especially like a roof that it's an extreme project, it cost you a lot of money. It was a ton of beating and banging around. You start taking the time to go look like you do an inspection of your home, like you're walking around it with the magnifying glass, and you find these little things that are wrong, that have been wrong for actually like 10 years. You just didn't notice it because you didn't care to look. And we run into that all the time. So, but if you can document, oh, well, I just never noticed that before, and it's gone.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I like it. Sounds good. All right. We have a question here from Gracie. Who do you recommend hiring on first into a roofing company? My husband and I have been running everything and I'm going crazy over here. We still have a lot to learn. I got an answer to this, but I'll let you guys first, Scott.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say the one of the first people I think worth that's a good idea to hire is someone is like a VA through an agency like SMA Support where they're already pre-trained for the roofing business. And if you're on ProLine, they're often already pre-trained on ProLine too, so they know exactly how to run your system. And that having just someone there to sort of to answer the phones and to just kind of make sure everything's going through the process the way it should, just that alone is going to take a lot of stress off, just having somebody else kind of there. And the cost is very affordable relative to hiring someone in the US. So it's a really kind of low risk way to get some help in the door, that can make sure that the leads, you're not missing leads, because that's the last thing you want when you're early on, is you missing good opportunities and missing sales. So and Proline can help you with the speed to lead. It can help you with the sales follow up. But if they're calling in, like, Proline can't help with that. You just gotta have someone to answer the phones. And so you got to make sure those leads get in and get into your process and get a quote. So that's something that that's my recommendation is look. I mean, there are some other things. Our recommendation from ProLine is SMA Support. They're one of our certified partners, and we've worked with them a ton. They're excellent, and all their people pretty much are pre-trained on ProLine, because that's their preferred CRM. So that's who I recommend.
I couldn't really agree more. I love SMA. I've got some folks at SMA that working for me now, but I would. So that question isn't. It depends on what you and your husband are currently, doing, how those tasks are divvied up, and what you're outsourcing. So, for me, the first thing I would look at doing is outsourcing. So, a VA is one way to outsource, but even like bookkeeping. So, when I started my business, it was me and my wife, and quickly got overwhelmed with the amount of bookkeeping as we started hiring staff and doing more and more work and getting audited and stuff. And we realized real quick that one of the things that was going to be a struggle was her managing the books, as she has no accounting background. Um, so the first thing we did was outsource our bookkeeping. So depending on what you guys have going on, maybe that's another option to think about that would kind of help bridge the gap and kind of free up some of your time to do something maybe you like more.
Yeah.
Even if it's not bookkeeping, anything that you're doing that you don't like doing that someone else is better at that you could outsource, that's, to me, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think that and Scott, you might think differently about this. I think a mistake that a lot of companies make early on is they think they want to hire a sales guy to run the appointments. And it's like when you do that, your sales are going to plummet because they're you got to train them up. But also it's like they're not the owner, right? You're getting this boost from like the owner or co-owner going out and doing the inspection, right? You're getting this sales boost. And so you're better off like trying to ink out, try to like hire in, outsource for everything else in the business first that you can, just and try to like systematize and everything first so that the owner can keep selling longer than they normally would in most roofing businesses. That's going to give a really good foundation. And then you can put together a training program and you start onboarding reps into this like very optimized system. So you're onboarding reps into a system that works rather than just like throwing a rep in when everything's just a mess. So I mean that'd be my recommendation. I don't know if you have a different
No, I agree completely. I mean, I was at one point before I ever hired my first salesperson, we did $3 million worth of revenue with 14 in-house employees. I worked on the job site at least 8 hours a day and still sold $3 million worth of business. So you should stay, if you're the owner and you're a good salesperson, you should stay selling as long as possible. I've got a sales rep for me that's selling $5 million a year. He's good. I guarantee I could have done more than him. You know what I mean? Because I'm the owner. I'm the guy wearing the hat. So but we got to a point we I needed help. So, but yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
That's good. And for sure, Gracie, hope that helps. Um, okay. Well, so thanks for those questions, guys. Keep them coming. If you guys got other questions for us, we'd love to answer those. But we'll jump back into one of our questions in the short run. How should change requests be handled after the contract is signed? So if they sign a contract with you and the contract says it's this color roof, but then they come back 2 days later and say, hey, we want this other color instead, or hey, like we kind of want we want to do that other one, or we wanted the other shingle that you offered, or we want to add on gutters or something like that. How do you handle those changes?
I mean, it's real easy up until the point of delivery. And even at that point, as long as we haven't, we usually deliver a week prior to install or up to a week prior. No longer than that. But as long as, because our ABC is even friendly enough that they would come return those shingles and bring a different color or bring different accessories to get you a warranty job or whatever. Um, I don't care. We're happy to do that all the way up to the point of installation. Um, now the trouble is when you get into something that's not returnable, and we've had this happen with metal. So metal is cut to the inch. When we order a metal, if it's 159-inch panels, we order them 159 inches. Um, you can't return it. Like there is no returns. Once they cut it, you own it. So we've had the situation where we placed the order of metal and they called and wanted it changed, and I mean we basically had to say, look, you, this is your metal's here. It's sitting here. It's ready to go. It's cut. We have already paid for it, and we can't send it back. If you want to change, here's the cost. We can change it, but you can have this pile of and that I think the one time we had that happen, it was like last year we had that happen once. They ended up buying the metal off of us, and then they took it and sold it and got some of their money back. So it was like $2,500 worth of steel. They took 25, and we could return the accessories. So we did help them. We returned everything that could be returned,
It was just
but
the panels.
you can't return the panels. So they bought the panels off of us for the say 2,500 bucks they cost us. They turned around, put them on marketplace, sold it for 1,500 bucks to get some of their money back, and they made the change. So,
Wow.
uh, yeah, but I
Unless I
mean, we
really
weren't
wanted that
really
other
impressed.
color.
Yeah, they did. I'd say, that is part of the trouble in your sales process, though, and we try to do it every time, but sometimes it just doesn't work. Is getting the decision makers at the table. You got to have both parties. If it's husband, wife, whatever the case is, if there's more than one person that is going to make an opinion on that decision, they need to be part of the sales process. So we try real hard to make sure we talk to whoever the decision maker is.
Yep. Well, that makes sense. What if the so yeah, I mean that all makes sense. Would you ever resend the contract? Like under what conditions would you resend? Let's be like, hey, we got to get a new contract signed. Or
Yeah,
would you do
we'll
an
probably
amendment?
just void that one, especially if the price is different. Like if they wanted to add warranty, because like maybe they chose the good and they wanted the best. We'll just void that contract altogether and resend them the contract to sign for the best. Because the price is changing, so the contract's really not valid at that point. Um, we need you to re-sign with the valid contract amount. So yeah, we just cancel it, send it back to you, change out what needs changed, and get the job done. People
Yeah.
change their mind. That's just part of it. I was actually just talking with some guys in a mastermind group right before this, and one of the questions was we were talking about, one of the guys has got a really long backlog. He's got a pretty large backlog, and he's worried that a lot of this, some of his customers may back out of the agreement and go hire someone else. And my thing is like, even if they decide to do that, what are you going to do? Like, because I don't take deposits, but I know most people do. Even if you take a deposit, what are you going to do? You're gonna hold their money? Like, no, you're not. You're going to give them their money back, and you're going to let them go work with another contractor because that's what they want to do. And this is a free country, and that I know they signed a contract, but you know that they also have the power to get on social media and call you a no good piece of shit for keeping their money.
Yeah.
So, you know, um, if you're a real contractor, you're a legitimate company. Maybe I'm just too nice, but you give them their money back. Like it's not that's not a fight worth fighting. You know what I mean? Just move on.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, change is the one thing that's the one constant in business, and you just have to roll with it.
Yep. That makes sense. All right, guys, if you have more questions for us, we'd love to answer your questions. We got the Q&A button at the bottom of Zoom. You can put any kind of questions you want in there. Otherwise, we're going to keep going through our own. Next question that I got here is what safety concerns should we be paying attention to on job sites?
Oh, I mean, fall protection, obviously. That's always key. But another one that I think is a big that I hardly ever see get used is tying your ladders off. Um, and that goes for everybody. Like I actually, when I was selling, was out in the middle of nowhere on a job site, and I got up on a story and a half house, and a gust of wind blew, and it blew my ladder down. Nobody was home. It was a vacation home. It was like a cabin, out in the middle of the country. Oh yeah, no cell phone service, no nothing. Like I was stranded on a story and a half roof, and I had to jump. And like it's
Tuck and
just
roll.
oh yeah. luckily I was able to jump far enough. I ran down the roof and cleared the concrete because it was all concrete around the house. I really didn't want to land on the concrete. So
Yeah.
I had to jump about 10 feet out from the house to get away from it. But the
Dang.
tying the ladder off. And I mean, here's the thing too, is if you're, going up the ladder carrying material, that ladder's shaking around up and down the gutter or up and down the drip edge or whatever, you know, a bungee cord is good enough to tie a ladder off. Like it will hold it from sliding around. So they
Yeah.
also make clamps. They make all kinds of great stuff now that makes it way easier. But that's one that I feel like doesn't get talked about or actually ever get done. Like I'd never go to a job site and see a ladder tied off. They're always just fumbling around. So
Is that an
yeah.
OSHA? Does OSHA enforce
Oh,
that?
that's like it's literally like one of the first things they bust everybody on.
Is the ladders?
Yeah, it's literally like the one that everybody gets busted on. Obviously fall protection, but then everybody gets busted on not having their ladder tied off.
Yeah.
So,
Fall protection, ladder tie offs. Anything else?
I mean, obviously all the simple stuff, your safety glasses, you know, I, I don't even know if we're required as roofers to have, steel-toed shoes or something like that. I don't even know, to be honest with you. I talked to a safety guy one time, and he said residential roofing is like the biggest gray area in construction that exists. Like everything is super, super gray. So because I don't know. I've even heard the fall protection stuff is kind of gray because a lot of our roofs are so low pitched that you can kind of fight that a little bit. Being because flat roofing you don't have to be tied off on. Do not quote me on this. This is not factual. I'm just going off memory. But you don't have to be tied off if you're so far from the edge. And then even if you are so close to the edge, if you have a spotter, you still don't necessarily need to be tied off. There's occasions for that. And being that, a 3 on 12 or a 2 on 12 pitch shingle roof, there's like argument where that's kind of gray area too. So it's super gray. It's super gray. But yeah, those are the big ones: fall protection, ladder safety. Um, yeah, I mean, I think those are the big ones.
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay. All right. Love to have more questions from you guys if you got any for us. But we're just gonna keep going through ours. How should we coordinate with drywall contractors if there is water damage inside the home? Like, do you work with them or do you just let the homeowner handle it or?
Let the homeowner handle it. We've tried doing it ourselves, and one of our only negative reviews on Google is from this exact thing. Um, we tried to be kind of the coordinator with the drywall, and we kept telling the homeowner, "Well, the drywaller's coming tomorrow at 8 o'clock." Drywaller never showed up. Next day, saying, we just said, "Nope. We'll just give somebody a phone number if they want, a referral. We'll give them a referral that we're confident in." Um, and move on. And even if we're not confident in them, we'll just tell them, look, here's a guy we've used in the past. Some people like him, some people don't, but we don't really know a whole lot of other people in that business. The drywallers are literally like little gold mines right now. Like nobody knows a good one, and nobody new is getting into it. Like it's like this little untapped area. But it's like there's also no money in it, it doesn't seem like, and there's no real glory in it, and it's like there's no real growth potential in it. Like it's a really shitty business. That's what it is.
Hmm.
Don't I think somebody if they wanted to be self-employed but didn't really want to grow, they just wanted to make a really good living for themselves, could do drywall repair all day long and make a shitload of them, make a couple hundred grand a year. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's hard work. It's messy, and it's just not that great of a job. I mean, and not only that, it's not easy. Like it does take some
Especially
skill.
if it's on the ceiling. And that's
Oh
like
yeah,
so you basically have to tap two people unless you have I've seen like the machine you can do like a lift, but those are not cheap.
Yeah, you gotta have a
You
lift
fit
or
them in
use
everywhere.
deadman. Yeah, it's just a pain. It's just a pain. It's a pain of a project, and also nobody wants to pay for it. That's where I see the issue is. It's like you tell them $500 for a drywall repair, and they're like, "What? $500?" And it's
They're
like,
thinking it's like $100 or something.
right, but the problem is drywall will take 3 trips back to the house to get because you got to wait for the mud to dry. So like, there's just I you think roofing should, I hear all these people saying roofing should be like a $1,000 or $2,000 minimum on repairs. I think drywall should be $1,000 or $2,000 minimum on repairs. Yeah, it only takes 20 minutes each trip, but it's 3 trips plus your travel, so it's just not that easy of a trade. But no, we try to stay out of it. We don't mess with it. That's somebody else's problem.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, next question here. How do we stay organized when managing multiple projects simultaneously?
We use ProLine. That's it. We use it well. We have everything set up to where, all of our pipelines and our stages are very organized, and we still don't use a calendar for production. So I mean, we just use the stages with the queue, and the queue lets us know who's been there the longest. That means that's who's up. We also uh we use company cam a lot for this kind of stuff too, because that's what job's going on that day by what photos are being taken, right? So like me not having zero to do with scheduling whatsoever. Like I don't schedule anything. The way I know what jobs are happening that day is what photos are getting uploaded. So because we might have 5 or 6 in jobs in progress, maybe 2 of those are waiting on gutter though. But then the other 4 are actually being physically done today, and I know that because I look in company cam and there's photos of all 4 of them.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Makes sense. What about when you got multiple trades per project?
well, yeah.
That's
Hopefully, the program does something about that.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully. We got something cooking for that. We got something cooking because yeah, right now it's just projects, but we're working on something to allow you to split out projects into multiple trades and track each trade. So that'll be cool.
Yeah, it will be cool. I think, and for right now, we've got to work around. We basically they stay in a stage, and then we may even put a note like in the notes section, like project's done, just waiting for gutter, and then the date. So like we have ways around you know multiple. I mean, we sell windows, roofing, siding, gutters, soffit fascia. So like we do a little bit of that stuff too. So I mean, we even see. I mean, we've actually got a bunch of work this past year that was everything, including decks, which we literally don't sell. It was just kind of a situation we had to do it to sell a couple $100,000 worth of work. But yeah, so I mean, we've got a workaround right now, but I think what Proline's got in the making is going to be way better.
I'm excited for it. I'm excited. All right. Um, Next question here, and hey, if you guys got questions for us, we'd love to answer your questions. Put those in the Q&A. But next question I have on the list here is how we kind of talked about this a little bit. You have that queue system for bad weather, but how should we handle or prepare for bad weather or unexpected delays? Like, what if for some reason you can't finish the roof that same day? Um, and so maybe it's bad weather the same day, like it starts raining unexpectedly, or maybe it's like, hey, we don't know, it could rain tomorrow and we need to make sure this is job site secure. How do you handle those situations?
Very, very weather focused. I mean, I know that's a generic answer, but we're watching the weather. I mean, I've got like 10 different sets of alerts set on my phone for different weather situations. And, so in our group text, if we're, middle of summer, up here, what happens middle of summer is we get these like it's kind of like the coast. Like you just get these random ass. thunderstorms at 3 o'clock in the afternoon that were never called for. You know what I mean? And you get like an hour advance notice that it's coming. Um, but yeah, what we do is as soon as that happens, I mean, it's immediate calls to everybody. Hey, get dried up as quick as possible. But we're never scheduling work with a chance of rain. Like it's got to be 20% or less for us to schedule the work. And even if it's 20%, we're really keeping a tight eye on stuff. If it's a 2 day job or it has a chance of being a 2 day job, and tomorrow's got a huge chance of rain, we're not starting that project. We'll start a 1 day project. We'll skip the queue to fill that 1 day of good weather, and then the next 2 days is when that job goes. So we'll move ourselves through the queue to fit the schedule that the weather's allowing us. And then we're also communicating with that customer. That customer that was supposed to be next, we're going to let them know, hey, as soon as we get 2 solid days of sunny weather, we're coming to you. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Absolutely. What do you what if you've done everything you just mentioned, but still you can't get you thought that the job was supposed to be a 1 day job. Something happens. I don't know, you're short on shingles and you can't go, it's too late in the day to get more. And the next day is a 30% chance of rain. What are you doing on that job? Or regardless of the chance of rain the next day, what are you doing on that job site end of day to secure it and like so that your guys can go home, come back the next day?
yeah. So I mean, we keep extra felt, and every truck has extra rolls of felt. They always keep 2, 3, 4 rolls of felt running around the truck. Um, but they're felting everything off, button capping it down, and drying it in overnight. And we've had many of them. I mean, our system's not perfect. No, nobody's is. This is Mother Nature you're fighting. You're not going to win.
Yeah.
Uh, we even had one. I think we had one last year that got rained in. I think it was one, but it got absolutely downpoured in. I mean, storm come out of nowhere, and we had just finished tearing off. Actually, my own brother-in-law's house 2 years ago got it. Uh, of course, the only person that got it all year was my brother-in-law, but we were it's we usually only tear off what we can put back on that day. That's kind of our rule of thumb. But
Yeah.
we had the entire back of the house tore off at like noon. Big house. It's probably like 70 square shingles. So we tore off 35 square by noon, 12:30, an absolute, torrential downpour just comes hammering in. And we got felt on like half of it before it started raining. And the guys never came off the roof to quit felting. But by the time, they actually got it felted, it had already rained in like 4 rooms of that house, like bad. So we took care of it. We fixed it. We made it all right. Repainted all the ceiling, fixed everything. Repainted ceilings were needed. Repaired drywall were needed. Um, but it happens. You get caught. There's nothing you can do about it. We're good for one a year. I feel like it's once a year. Every year you get
Yeah.
one that you're like, shit, man. There's just nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. It's the government again. It's because you didn't pay your permits. They're sending the
That's
weather
probably what it
machines.
was.
They're creating the rain.
The chemtrails are letting
The
loose on.
chemtrails. That's funny. Um, all right, next question here. Do we need to inspect all the delivered materials before the start of the project?
We don't. We never do. Um,
Really?
we used to. You gotta get your relationship right with your supplier, and that's where we ended up was. Um, now also let me clarify this. Our supplier does a fantastic job. We send a work order or a material order out of ProLine to them so that the color's right because we required the homeowner to click the color, right? So that whatever the homeowner clicked, that's what's going in the material order. We don't have no part in that. So that's always right. Our ABC rep is fantastic. I can't think of the last time he missed. But our work order also shows the color. So the work order we send out of ProLine to our sub also shows the color. They look at that. The other piece with us delivering early, the only time we've had an issue, this is how it's gotten caught. And I can only think of a couple times last year that it happened. Mind you, we did 700 and some projects, and maybe there was two mistakes. Um, but because we deliver material early to the job site, the homeowner caught it. The homeowner saw that they're the wrong color. Hey, you guys delivered charcoal. I wanted Vauxhall Gray. Oh, well, we ordered Vauxhall Gray. ABC will take care of this. Don't you worry. And sure enough, they go take care of it, and it's no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
They've even delivered it in their own driveway before, but that's why we've required now a sign in the yard. That's the one thing we require is a sign in the yard as soon as the contract is signed. So that alleviates them from delivering to the wrong house. Because
Mm.
I'm telling you, we've gotten calls before we did that. We got plenty of calls where they were saying, hey, I know you were planning on delivering material today, but my neighbor got some material. I think it might be ours. Sure
Yeah.
shit, it was,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's another good way to kind of keep yourself set up. But you got three people checking the color of that material: the supplier, the homeowner, and the sub.
Yeah. So no need to spend time specifically like checking it or doing an inspection of it.
No, I don't think so. I know too. They ABC takes photos of it, and you can request them. So you can request a picture of your delivery. I don't. We may even still do that, and I just don't ever see them because they just go to the sales reps. But ABC will absolutely just send you photos of that delivery. That way, you know what color was there, the drip edge is there, you see all the accessories there, whatever. So
Yep. No, it makes a lot of sense. All right. All right, next question here.
oh, yep, Jennifer said we do get those delivery photos. See, I'm out of the loop. These guys don't even tell me what goes on anymore. I get nothing.
Good, that's the way you want it.
That's exactly the way I want
You
it.
just have it. It just works. It
I
works.
know we used to get them, but it's been a long time since I've seen one.
Yeah. All right. We're coming up on the final 10 minutes here. So if you guys got any other questions, we'd love to answer your questions. Next question that I got here is what is the best way to handle waste management on the job site?
Dump trailer, 100%. We have tried the roll-offs. We've even tried your own dump trailer. Let me say that. You know, the cruise trailer, your trailer, whatever. A trailer that you have full control of is, in my opinion, the best solution for
Um,
residential.
not
Commercial,
renting?
no, 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 no. So, I mean, you can rent it as long as you can tow it.
Mm.
Problem is, there's a lot of these companies that like they'll come drop a trailer off for you and then they come pick it back up. But you have to time that. You know, maybe they want to pick it up at by 4 o'clock. Well, what's if you've still got, you're making wrapper bags and all this stuff. You still got trash. You make trash on a roof project literally till it's done. And that because your final cleanup is when it's done. You still make trash. Um, so yeah, it's definitely something. If you want to have control over the timing of when that trailer comes, when it leaves, roll offs, they drop them. They may leave them there for 3 days after the job to pick them up. Same with the rented trailer, they drop them off. They want to pick them up too early, they want to leave them an extra day. Our goal is always we bring the trailer with us, we leave with the trailer. So the trash never sits on the job site. When we leave, the trash leaves. So it's just a much cleaner, simpler process for the customer. The roll offs are tearing up driveways, they're in the road for too long. Commercial, they're great because they're huge. You can put them in a parking lot, you can stack two or three of them in there for a big tear off. They're fantastic. But residential, personal dump trailer is the way to go. 12, 14 footer, it's perfect.
Yep, that makes sense. All right. Next question here. How should we waterproof around skylights?
Well, I mean, they should be step flash. So when you buy it in a new roof, let's just say this is a new roof install. When you put a skylight in, a new skylight in a new roof, there's also a flashing kit that matches that skylight. So it's made for the skylight. So if you use a Velux X200, that's not even a real model, but you need the Velux X200 flashing kit to go alongside that. So you step flash it like normal, like you would anything else, but it actually has a counter flashing kit to waterproof that step flashing. And I mean, if you try to do it any other way, you're just wasting your time. That's the way to do it. I hate skylights. There's nothing I hate more in a roof than a freaking skylight. I do not understand them. I do not understand the purpose of them. Like, who wants light just shining down in the middle of their room and they can't really control it? Some of them are nice now. They have the automatic blinds and stuff in them,
Yeah.
but you don't see many of those. Most people just have this open light. It's like, then they've got this one real faded spot on their couch where that same light's been shining at. You know what I mean? Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
That's what happens. It's like, I don't know. I really like. There's no upside to having a skylight.
Yeah.
Um, it's like a sunroof in your car. Like, does anybody? I don't know anybody that
Oh,
actually
I love
open.
a sun. I love my sunroof,
Do
but I feel
you?
like it's different. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're going down the highway on a road trip, and it's a nice, crisp fall day, and you open the skylight. Oh, yeah, it's great. But I feel like that's so different. That's so different than a house. Like I'm with you.
It's definitely different, but
It's
you're
just
no,
not.
it's definitely different.
Yeah.
I don't even want. I don't want sunshine on top of my head when I'm even in the car. I don't want none of it.
Oh, you
So
can't. Not midday. It can't be midday.
yeah.
Not the time for. And that's
You
the
get warm,
thing.
you get warm enough evenings that it's enjoyable. See, up here, evening time,
Just
you don't even
cold.
want that open. Yeah, you don't want that open. There's like a 1 month a year that you might.
Might want to have that.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's how you take care of a skylight. Outside of that, I mean, I don't have any other good ways.
Hmm. Sounds good.
It's one of them. You do it right the first time, or you're just going to fight it forever.
Yeah. All right. Final call on questions from you guys that are with us. If you want to answer anything else, let us know. I'm gonna jump to this next question, and then we'll have time for one more question after that. So, this question is: should we do a walkthrough of the new roof with the customer after the job is complete?
Say that again.
Should we do a walkthrough of the roof after it's complete with the customer in person?
We try to. Absolutely. That's when we collect our payment. You know, us to not taking deposits, that is our way to collect payment. So when we walk that job site with the customer, there's nothing left to talk about. We walked around it. If you had a complaint, we probably went ahead and addressed it right then and there. Um, that's kind of the end of it. And go ahead and get a check for us and get us taken care of. And yeah, I mean that's exactly the way you should do it. If you don't and you walk it yourself, I feel like you leave it up to interpretation. If they see something that they don't like, then they're calling you back out there to take a look at it when you could have just nipped it in the butt and been like, no, it's just kind of cold out. Those will lay down here in the next week or two when it gets warm.
Mm,
You know, just whatever. Like, you leave things up to our interpretation where they might not be satisfied. Well, I want to make sure you're satisfied when I leave. And if even if you see something you don't like, if I can at least give you a good explanation of why it's like that and it has to be like that, then I've at least alleviated that pain point.
yeah. Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. All right, final question here. No questions from from you guys that are watching. So, what is the best way to gather client or customer feedback at the end of the project?
I mean, we use automation for it, so in ProLine, our review follow up is kind of the best way to. I mean, I don't know if that's the best way to get all the feedback, but it's definitely the best way to get 5-star reviews. So, if and maybe we're that good where we just don't have that many people that are ever upset with us, but we very almost never get anything other than a 5-star review on our automations. But those triggers out of our ProLine campaign literally just ask the customer to you know rate us on our Google page. Here's the link. Please rate us and tell us how you felt and what you thought about your experience. So, and usually they take the time to write a really nice piece and kind of explain what they loved and what they enjoyed about the process, and that's the end of it. And we never work any harder to gain it. We just do the same thing we do every day, and luckily the automation takes care of it.
Do you find that people, if they're if do you find that at that stage you have people responding if they're unhappy and telling you they're unhappy? Like is it
We really
how
we really don't.
you know already you
I
prior to
think we already know. Yeah, I think we already know.
if it happens? I mean, assuming it's rare.
Sure. Oh no, it happens. You can't. Like, it happens, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, it's got to. You can't be perfect in this business at all.
Yeah.
It definitely happens. Um, and at that point, it's kind of one for our business. The way it works is I fully depend on the sales guy to address it until they have no other option. So I am only to be included in that conversation if there is no other option. And usually I don't. I see the text and I see the emails and I see how my guys handle themselves with that disturbed customer. And unless I see something I really don't like, I stay out of it. I just know that we've got a little bit of an issue and this is what we need to work on to make sure we don't have it again. And that's when I'll step in, the following day and address it, and we'll try to learn from it.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. All right. Well, let's wrap it up there. Um, and yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Thank you, Scott. It was a
Absolutely.
good one.
I'm
And
going to eat. I've been fasting for 48 hours. I'm going to go get me a sandwich.
this is the end of your fast?
I was going to try for 72, and no, I'm so tired right now. Like,
Yeah.
listen, I woke up dreaming last night like 3 different times that I was at a seafood joint eating a seafood boil. I'm not lying to you. And then I
You
couldn't get back to sleep because I was so freaking hungry.
you need to go get yourself some shrimp.
Dude, I want a crawfish boil, something fierce. But yeah, no, I'm gonna go eat
There
and
you go.
we'll try it again another day. I'm just not in the mood to keep starving.
I feel it. I feel it. Well, good stuff. And thanks everybody for joining. So we'll see everybody next week.
See you guys.